Hello and welcome to Spinning Plates Podcast. I am your host, Selena Johnson, and I am so glad you're here. God has a perfect plan for you, a design specific that is only for you, and I assure you that it does not include living tired and discontent. I know it's for you to live fully into who you're meant to be. So let's spin the plates together with joy and purpose. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello. Oh my gosh, it's finally here. I can't believe it. Episode 100. We are in episode 100. I'm going to take you guys on a little journey that I've been on over the last couple months. Really some conversations that God and I have had. And this episode's really going to be all about pivoting. And if you're hearing Ross from Friends scream pivot right now, yes, it's all about that. Not really. But first of all, before I get too far, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all of you who I am overwhelmed. How many times this has been downloaded. I'm overwhelmed. I got that Spotify wrap up thing this year. I'm overwhelmed by the data. The reach that this little podcast has had. I'm overwhelmed by the generosity of those who have come on and interviewed with us this year. I'm so thankful for especially my friends and family and encouragers who send me notes or ask me questions about the podcast or give me even topic ideas. And I'm just so grateful for that. You have no idea how many times this year, and we'll get into that has kept me going. It means everything to me. And I didn't know I needed that encouragement. And isn't that the way of it? And then yet when we get that word from a friend who is, really just probably taking God's lead and saying what he's put on their heart in regards to me is it's everything. And I'm so grateful for it. I also want to say I'm extremely grateful for the grace. This has been a strange year for the podcast, an exciting one, an awesome one, but also I have not been as consistent this year as I have been the last two. And I know, again, that's going to be the story we're going to talk about today. But I love the fact that if I am working through something, you guys are just ready for the next episode. It's not something that's frowned upon or even judged. And I'm extremely grateful for that. I am mostly grateful to my God, the one who has put in me a heart for serving others, but has also put in me talents and skills I didn't know I had, and has used this platform to, I guess, fully realize those, and maybe not even fully, but to realize those. And I'm so grateful that he continues to show me, I guess his steadfastness is the best word, compassion, love, kindness. And once again, I don't feel judgment. I feel safe in failing in this area. And I am so grateful for that. So 100 episodes. Gosh, it's been fun. It's been so much fun. And also if anyone wants to do self-therapy, just start a podcast. That's all I'm going to say, because it really does require you to think through things. Well, I guess if you're doing it right, you have to think it through. So that's where I'm at in life. All right. So this is the deal. About 2 months ago, you guys probably started to feel it. I was feeling it. I even came on here a couple times and just said I don't know what's going on. I'm not having the consistency I was having in my episodes. And I kind of in a couple spaces, maybe, blamed it on life or, whatever. I don't even remember. I could go back and listen, but I know I had some probably very viable excuse. But really what God has presented to me in the last couple months and helped me see is I was feeling him call me to more, and I was pulling back from that. Mostly my own humanness, my own, imposter syndrome, right? That's a good word for it. I was feeling called to more, and I was pulling back, and I was feeling this, I guess, juxtaposition, we're going to use a big word today, of me knowing it's there, knowing that he has this in front of me, and that he's calling me to it and giving me beautiful visions of what could be. And I just kept shoving it aside and started to go back into some of my old characteristics or old triggers that we've talked about here before, which is, starting to get in my head and to think that, what I don't want it to ever be is narcissistic, and what I don't want it to ever be is braggy, that is the thing I've had to fight against, I think, my whole life, is that God has given me this ability to be out front. He has given me a heart of leadership. He has, and I'm giving him all due credit. He has given me the ability to speak, to talk, to be outgoing. Like, these are things that he's put inside of me, specific to Selena. The intro to this show talks about, we want to become who God's called us to be, right? Nothing else. And I'm here to say that even though he has given me those things and has helped me realize those things, I still shrink down when I feel like it could be confused with wanting to just be in the spotlight. And it has been a whole journey. This last 2 months has been me really talking with him about, okay, Lord, you're giving this to me and you're calling me to this. And this is the thing, you're calling others to this. And when I see their content, when I hear their podcasts, when I lean into what you're having them teach, I love it. So what makes it different that I would be called to something similar, called to share my heart in these ways, but yet not be something that others needed to hear? It's not true. It is something somebody needs to hear. And that's not about me. And so I've had to really look at the podcast specifically and my Instagram content, because I spend the most time in those two places. I've had to look at it specifically and really make a commitment and a decision to the Lord that if you're calling me to it, I am going to step into it. And how others might perceive that is not my responsibility. But I care, Lord, about how you perceive me, how you're using me, how you want me to show up. I care about what you think and not about what others think. And so I'm excited because episode 100, I have held off recording because I did not want to record it just to record it. I wanted to record it when I was fully ready to move forward wholly in this. And I don't mean Holy. I mean Whollly. How do you spell holy? I want to be complete in this and to be stepping into it, knowing not that I'm complete, but that he is complete in me. I have been thinking about and talking about so much, Lord, that he can fill in the gaps. He is able and quick and has the desire to fill in your gaps. In my weakness, he is made strong. It is only because I show up willing to fail that he can be made known, right? I have to take that step, that leap of faith, knowing that I am not going to be the one to have all the answers. So as I enter into episode 100 and as we leave it, I have some things I'm going to talk to you about. But I wanted you to know the backstory of me pushing record on today's episode. I am currently, I know you guys all love to know what's happening. So I'm not in my closet at the moment. And you may have heard some noise outside, but I'm actually in my car. I am waiting for my son. He's doing some volunteer work at the food bank and I'm just chilling here. And I thought I could feel God's hand. And I'm this is it. I'm just going to push record right now. So we are here. We are almost to Christmas. I am so thankful for episode 100. And I am here to tell you, I've made a goal for 2024. And I'm going to say it out loud. We're going to see how far we get. But God can do it. He can and he will. I have a goal of getting to episode 200 by this time next year. That's my goal, which means I'm going to need to do like 2 episodes a week. And I have some ideas on how to do that, what that'll look like. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I have felt God put that goal on my heart, not so that I can get to an even number or so that it'll look any sort of way. But like, I feel that this is the space he wants me to press hard into and to just see where it takes not me, but us on the other side of it. So I encourage you, please, please, please share this with a friend. Get it out into the world. I want to build this community of spinning plates. I want to build these plate spinners together, and I want us to show up together this year for 100 episodes. And I think we can do that. Okay. So I'm going to get into the word of the day, which is pivot. Last year it was pause, and I think it's still going to be this year. Like, pause is the thing that has brought me through 2023. And I should have known going into the year. He has been so good to me. I've had speaking engagements. I've been able to solidify what it means in my mind. I am going to finish up the series on pause. This is when it all started for me, you guys. So if you're feeling it, that would have been like September, I think, is I had to take a pause on rolling it all out to you guys, but it is coming. It's going to be, I think, my first series in the year. I'm laying out the podcast for this year. I'm actually making rough plans so that I'm not winging it. That's one thing God has called me to do. I do better off the cuff, and I know that he's encouraging me to not just assume that that's the way to go. And mostly it's been so I don't get in my head, but I also think I need to have a rough plan. So that's the plan, and sticking to it is going to be the goal. But this word pivot. So I really, really thought about this because these last couple months I have paused. And I have waited on the Lord to see what it was he was asking me to do. And I want to now move forward with the word pivot. So as we go into 2024, I really think that I want to encourage us what a healthy pivot looks like. And so the first thing I want to say is that growth requires change. We cannot grow and stay the same. You look at a plant that's growing. If a plant is just sitting the same, it's not yielding new fruit or yielding new leaves or whatever, right? Blossoms. It is staying the same. And we don't want to be static in our faith, in our walk, in our relationships, in our work life. We don't want to be static. We want to grow. Growth is painful at times, and it sometimes is uncomfortable, and most of the time is daunting. Sometimes growth can feel like, oof, I need to do this. I know I need to do this. I'm feeling God calling me to do this, but I can't do it and stay the same. Pivoting to me means accepting the change. It means knowing that progress is the direction we are headed. And in those moments when I'm feeling, I guess, maybe intimidated by the fact that I need to grow, I'm also feeling relieved in the fact that I am being called and have a safe place to change in the Lord. And I know that he can do it. He can do it. Every single time I have embraced change, and I have, worked towards progress over perfection. Every single time I've had growth on the other side of it, and it has been who it has made me to be today. And I am so grateful for that. I cannot imagine, and I'm just going to go back 7 years, like forget all the years before that. Even 7 years ago, when I was experiencing so much burnout and so much discontentment, so much frustration, so much anger, I had to change in order to grow. And I cannot imagine if I had not made that one initial step towards change, which led to other steps towards change. So my encouragement to you is that you want to have a heart for growth, but you have to know that it's going to come with things changing. Your relationships could change. I'm praying for the better for you, but your relationship could change. Your work dynamics could change. Your expectations for yourself could change. I mean, there's a lot of things that will shift, and it's always so worth it. So continue to lean into that. Number 2 is, and this is what I did the last couple months, so I'm hot off of it right now, which is I had to step back in order to step forward. So I just want to encourage you, like, if you're feeling like push, you maybe not stacking up, you're not doing what you thought you were going to do, you're not feeling equipped, all the things that we get into our head about, it is okay to pause. And not even just stand still, but just kind of step back for a minute. And when I step back, I want to look at the picture. When I step back, it doesn't mean I'm, being in a place of escapism, or it doesn't mean that I am avoiding. But what it does mean is I'm going to step back and, like, instead of me running ahead, I'm going to pay attention to what God's got going on. So for me, the last couple months, I very much, my inclination, because consistency is my superpower, I feel like, I very much wanted to just push record to just get an episode out. I probably did it about a dozen times. I was like, well, just get an episode out, Selena. You're just getting in your head and you're whatever. This is turning into a thing. Just put an episode out. And every time I just kept hearing him say, pause. And when I took a step back and sat in it uncomfortably, and looked at everything and waited for his word, I was able to know that now moving forward, I'm not running ahead, trying to make decisions for God, trying to manipulate it or have it shape a certain way or anything like that. Like, I know full well I am able to step into it confident that he has called me to it. And so I just want to encourage you, if, like, right now, especially like over the holidays, like, it's a busy time, but if you can find any time to just take a step back and just kind of look at the big picture, what you got, how are your kids doing? How's your husband doing? How's work doing? Maybe grade yourself in certain areas and just kind of, I guess, do a reflection. Then, that will, in my opinion, give you room to hear God and what the next steps are to move forward. Okay. And it just feels so much better when you've moved forward, knowing that you've not just ran ahead and done it your own way. Okay. The third thing I want to say is that God can shift the call. Oof. All right. So let's talk about this. So, it's really exciting. It's really exciting when you are in a really, really beautiful place of not only hearing God's call, but like confidently stepping out into faith, right? Like, it is that is freedom. Freedom is being obedient. It is knowing that you don't have to think it all through. He's got it. You're going to step out in faith. It's the best feeling in the entire world. And if you know, right? Surrender is not a negative thing. You lean hard into it when you know that he has got you on the other side. He will catch you, okay? It's the best feeling ever. And then you're headed down that road. You're doing what you feel like he's calling you to do. And then you hear a new word. And it's a test. I mean, did I hear him right the first time? Am I really hearing him this time? Like, why would you call me to this and then ask me to do this? And it's all part of the process. And I want to put it on record. He gets to shift the call if he wants to. And there's a reason he wants to. He is the master planner. He knows the whole thing. And it's true, if he were to tell us more when we want it, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Sometimes he has to get you into the act of obedience in order to be ready for the next bigger thing that he's asking you to do. And so for me, I know that especially the last couple months, but this last year especially, like, I felt called to something and I've been going down that path. And the thing is he hasn't not called me to that anymore, but he's having it look different than it used to. And that has been challenging for me. That has been something that I thought, but but Lord, this is what it's looked like this whole time, and this has felt so good. And then remember my first thing, growth requires change. It cannot always stay the same. It has to shift every once in a while. And he does it with every single one of us. You're not immune to God's call, and you're not immune to him shifting the call. And I want to remind you that it's okay to talk to him about that. It's okay to share your feelings about it. And it's even more okay to not worry about what other people think if you're making a shift. For me personally, I'm just going to fall back on it again. Consistency has been my thing. That's been the thing that I'm like, ooh, I found a lane. I like it. It feels good. There's that comfortable word again, right? It feels fulfilling. It feels like I'm helping people, whatever. And then he's called me to this shift, and I've had to really work with him on it. And the thing is, what's beautiful is he's not asking me to step away from one thing, but he's asking me to evolve further. Does that make sense? He's not asking me to abandon the thing that he did call me to, but I think he's telling me, hey, that was the first step to where I really see you can go with all of this. Like where I really want to use you with all of this. But you had to master that first step first. And now I'm ready to help you master the second step. So I feel like sometimes we question if we're hearing him right, and sometimes he is going to shift the call on you, okay? And by the way, guys, sometimes he'll do it in 2-week periods, sometimes he'll do it in a 20-year period. So I'm not here to tell you what your story is, but just know that it could come anytime. Okay, the next thing is I know every single time I've done this, I've done a pivot. I believe if I am engaged in the pivot process, I truly believe it gives me a new energy and a fresh perspective. It changes, sorry about the truck that just beeped. It changes the way you go about doing things. So for example, I was talking about, this last couple months and how I was like hanging out and how I like almost pushed record just to get an episode out. And like I always said I would never do that. And I was just feeling very, like it just wasn't feeling like the thing he was calling me to do. I'm like, I don't want to do a podcast just so I can hear my own voice. Like I want to do it because it's what you had me do to begin with, Lord, right? And so anyways, I took that step back, I pivoted, made some shifts, and here we are today. And I know that you probably even hear it in my voice, like I'm back, like that new energy, that fresh perspective, not even the way it was before, but a completely different version of it. And I hope you're all here for it. But it's what we need to sustain us. It's what we need to endure. We cannot keep going down the road the same way every single time. We already talked about growth requires change. Like you have to get out of that comfort zone and you don't want to stay static. So you have to remember that in order to get that new energy and fresh perspective, you have to do all the things we just talked about, right? You have to lean into, how he's shifting your call. You have to take a step back to take a step forward. And you have to remember that new energy, fresh perspective is the thing that's going to drive your sustainability. You are going to want to come at it fresh. And if we try to do the same things we've done the same way forever, it's going to start to feel heavy. And anyways, so I just think it's very cool that we have the ability that God can give us that fresh new energy. And then the last thing is, and I just wanted to say, if you are open to this idea of pivoting, wherever you're at in life, friend, that it is important and key for you to stay open-minded and curious. So this has been, for me, probably one of the more eye-opening things over the last several years, especially as I've leaned into personal development and stuff like that. Like I had some built-in ideas, built-in, just this is the right way, or this is how we should do this, or whatever. And I've talked about it before, but I just want to remind you, like everything changed for me really when I stopped entering rooms saying, I have it figured out. I know what we need to do. And I started entering rooms curious. And that's how I want to be in my relationship with the Lord. And that's how I want to be in my walk. I want to be curious. Like, what is it he has for me? What other untapped talent is buried deep within me that I have shoved down with my own sin nature and humanity? Like, what is inside me that I need to be open and curious to, that he can continue to develop in me and that I can use to honor him and glorify him? And I know that I won't find that out if I stay in a fixed mindset. I have to be living in a growth mindset, which means I have to be curious and open to what is in store. And I think the essential key to being able to pivot in a healthy way. So a lot of us can, it was the word of the year for 2020. You all know it. We would just joke about it. Like, I guess we're going to pivot again. But I think some of us didn't necessarily do it in the most healthy way. I think some of us, listen, we're all grace, right? Because all of us were just trying to figure it all out. But we would start using that word, and in all seriousness, I almost didn't name this podcast episode Pivot because we say it so much. I don't want it to lose like momentum here, but I think that it's time to reframe it. And I think it's okay and time to look at it in a really beautiful, healthy way. I think that pivoting sometimes you just got to do it on a dime and figure it out. And I think that's kind of fun actually sometimes. But also I think that if you're doing it the right way, it's almost like you're headed down a path, right? And you realize you're going into like super rocky terrain, but you see another path that looks like it's going to be a little smoother. Like, that's what I'm feeling like right now. Like, I was headed down a path of like really making decisions for myself and not making it to glorify the Lord. And I'm choosing the path that I know is going to be freeing, which is the path of obedience. So, okay, let's go through this one more time. Growth requires change. You have to take a step back in order to take a step forward. God can shift the call, and I hope he continues to do that for me. New energy and fresh perspective is what you get from a good pivot. And also the best way to go about it is to stay open-minded and curious, because having a fixed mindset is going to be the thing that makes you stay stuck. Having a growth mindset is going to be the thing that helps you see that beautiful, beautiful change on the other side. So I hope this episode has been good for you. Let's talk about what's coming in the new year. I've got some interviews recorded and lined up, so I have been working. I'm excited about that. I am going to have an episode here this week of staying on track over the holidays. So we're going to do that. And you guys know coming in 2024 is going to be 100 episodes basically. So I really want to hear from you on your topics. And if you're listening to this in Spotify, I'm going to put in the questions. So please drop in topics that you have that you want to hear me on. It's very funny because I have probably 5 times in the last couple of weeks, which is kind of funny. Podcast is on the mind. I've had people asking me, what's your podcast about? And it's I need to come up with a good elevator pitch for it, because I usually am just like, life, like that's what it's about, right? So I'm open to all topics that we talk about in here. I really do think it is a space that I want you guys to feel like you can come and talk about the things that move us forward, the things that are our obstacles, the things that we would talk about over coffee with girlfriends. That's what I want the space to be. So if you are in, send me your topics. Please like and share and subscribe. I would love to get a rating on this, how you're loving the episode, the podcast in general. And please know that it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year. And I'm so grateful to all of you. Episode 100, guys. It's been a journey, and I feel like just the beginning. All right. I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening. I'm just so grateful that you would take the time to be here with me today. I hope that if there's anything that inspired you or got you excited, that you would share it to social media or send me a message with any input or feedback that you have. And just really appreciate the support and the encouragement that I get from you guys all the time. I will keep showing up, and I hope you keep listening.